So when you make that shift in consciousness from, let's say, from fear to courage and love, are you able to reintegrate other whole foods back into your life that you were having reactions to previously?
Oh, yeah. All of those foods that I tested positive, even the ones that I tested as the highest immune reactivity for, which even my functional medicine doctor at the time said, be prepared. You will not be able to consume those foods again. I chose not to carry that label and not to let it be part of my identity. Now I can eat all of those foods, and I do eat all of them. I eat them all. I eat everything in moderation, and I cycle my foods how we were meant to. That's we have the seasons. We have different fruits and vegetables and grains that grow at different times of the year. And that's how we were meant to eat. We were meant to cycle the foods to give your immune system, your body, a break from those foods. And so that's a big key into how I've been able to integrate these foods. They are no longer staples in my diet, right? Like a lot of our Western diet, we consume the same foods every day.
Hmm.
The Farm Bill is part of the reason why we do that. Part of the reason why we're exposed to so much corn and soy and rice, for example. And so you have to be intentional with cycling your foods so that you don't overwhelm the nervous system and develop these sensitivities.
Fascinating. I'm going to want to get into that because I'm sure all the listeners want to know about seasonal eating. But I'm curious: is this concept and idea of the emotional aspect to disease, is this a flaw in the functional medicine approach when they think about things as far as like biological nutrient based deficiencies or exposure to toxins?
Oh, I love this question. Yes, it is. So for me, this is a shortcoming of functional medicine. Now, functional medicine is is huge step forward in advancement from conventional medicine. So I don't want to discourage anybody. And it was a functional medicine doctor who helped me figure out functional testing, but it doesn't go far enough, in my opinion. So the way I see it is, conventional medicine is largely based on a pill for every ill, right? So the answer is not really root cause medicine. It is let's match your symptoms with a label, and then we match that label, a diagnosis, with a medication. Okay, in large part, at least that's my experience and others' experience that I know. Then, if you go a step further to functional medicine, they're replacing the prescription pharmaceutical medicine with a supplement. So sometimes somebody is so deficient in certain nutrients, like in my case, for example, I tested as not deficient in any nutrient through Western medical test. When I did the functional testing, I was deficient in 15 nutrients. And I was consuming a multivitamin and mineral every day. I actually used to formulate supplements. That was my first job out of grad school. I was director of research and development of a supplement company. So I was consuming the best of the best. And I still was deficient in 15 nutrients. I was so deficient in some B vitamins that I was borderline for both pellagra and beriberi, which used to be eradicated in the US by roughly the mid 1900s. And now we're seeing a resurgence of some of these micronutrient deficiency diseases coming back. But um, so basically, if somebody, what the scientific literature shows us is that if somebody is extremely deficient in a nutrient like I was, supplementation can provide a benefit, as it did in my case. If you are not extremely deficient in these nutrients, then there is literature to show that these supplements can actually do more harm than good. And I'm talking about the supplements that are like the synthetic supplements made in a lab. I'm not talking about whole food supplements. I'm not talking about cod liver oil, things like
What
that.
about like
I'm,
magnesium, for example?
yeah, so I would prefer to get magnesium like through food. Um, Again, in cases of extreme deficiency, there's evidence that it is beneficial to that person. But again, there's many studies out there showing that if you are not like deficient, if you're just trying to take it as a preventative, it may not be the best approach for you. You may want to even just switch over to whole food supplements. Get it from foods as much as possible. Sunlight is very important. As we can talk about a lot, stress. All of this is really at the root cause of it is the stress. Stress management is really key. Stress will eat up your magnesium, right? If and your B vitamins, for example. So it's really just trying to put a band-aid on it if you're taking those supplements. Um, but so anyways, yes. So that's their focus is let's run these tests. Their tests are better than what most of the tests for Western medicine. Okay. Um, but they basically fill in those gaps with supplements. And that's actually where a lot of them make a lot of their money is on selling the supplements, which is, it's fine. That's just the business model. So be aware of it when they're telling you to consume more supplements. There are other ways to fill in these nutritional gaps. All right. So then if you move beyond functional medicine, this is more of the holistic approach that involves the emotional component. Functional medicine does acknowledge stress, but Western medicine also acknowledges stress. The CDC itself acknowledges stress as an underlying root cause. I saw a stat one time that said something like the CDC said 90 or 95% of all chronic diseases are either caused by or related to stress. So even they're acknowledging the stress component, but it is not addressed. We're not really teaching stress management and emotional intelligence, emotional regulation. And functional medicine doesn't do it either. They may sit there and say, okay, how's your stress? And do you have toxic relationships? But they're not really explaining how it is the root to these imbalances. And disease is really just imbalance. They're not explaining it, and they're not actually taking you through the steps of how you can actually manage your stress better. And how do you forgive? Like these are questions I grappled with that, that it takes a while because we're not a culture of really forgiveness.